McKnight tonight.
Wrong again.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight.
I've seen that since university.
Funny, insightful interviews from a watchdog to some McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. Here comes McKnight tonight.
Hello, it is Wednesday, July 16, 2025, and this is McKnight Tonight. Amanda just threw a little cracker in during the opener. Anyway, thank you for your company as our little show continues to grow and grow and grow. I really appreciate your loyalty to making me make this work. Thank you very much. Now, if you have a comment about the topics we're discussing, the best place you can do that is on our YouTube page at youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. And if you're watching there, it also helps us generate revenue. Not much yet, but we've started. And I'm hoping that one day we can turn this into a full-time gig. We'll see how we go. A lot coming up on tonight's show. Mark Latham's behaviour in Parliament is under the spotlight. What is appropriate at work when it comes to texting your girlfriend? And this is just wow. Also, Stevie Wonder has come out and said that he is blind. I have thoughts, and many people who know me know that I have thoughts. Also, I have issues. This will be Rob's rant, and this is one you don't want to miss. And on a serious side, my true crime partner Amanda Howard is back because I want to discuss the death of convicted killer Bradley Murdoch, because Amanda tells me she believes he is innocent of murdering Peter Falconio. You know she's got the true crime goods, even though that goes against the grain. So I'm very interested to prod her about that. So stick around because we'll have all that and a whole lot more on this edition of McKnight Tonight. But now let's get into our hot topics. And tonight, a wave of parental concern is turning childcare centres into gender zones. Families at some New South Wales preschool sites are now requesting that only female educators care for their little ones. There's no actual policy forcing this, but it's happening anyway. Centres say they've received multiple emails asking men to be excluded from tasks like nappy changing or intimate care. Male educators make up just 3 to 8% of the workforce, and now they feel like they're being sidelined, unwelcome, and a lot of them are ready to walk away. Advocates warn this isn't just knee-jerk caution after recent childcare scandals, which have been making the news. It's gender discrimination dressed up as safety. When men are excluded from any task that is an inherent requirement of their job description as early childhood educators and teachers, then we run the risk of creating a two-tiered workplace where all men are seen as inherently risky by parents, colleagues, and the children they care for. That's according to Dr. Martin Mills-Bain, who talked to the Daily Telegraph. It's a really tough one, this, and I don't know the answer. Because if the shoe was on the other foot and females were being excluded from the workforce because of a small minority of females, there would be outrage. It wouldn't even be considered. But as I said, we have, 3 to 8% of the workforce are men. And it is men who are doing these sexual assaults. And tonight I think I need your help because I don't have a clear idea on this one. And I'm really keen to hear what you think about it. Because on one hand, I'm like, it's not an all men issue, and yet men are being discriminated against. But then I think it is men doing this. And I've been on the end of this. When I volunteered at my daughter's high school, and she was in primary at the time, actually, and Amanda was there with me, they only wanted Amanda. And I could tell, even from that meeting when they were calling for volunteers, it was full of females, there was a block to me being there. And Amanda ended up being called up for volunteer duty and I never was. Now, they never said that outright, but it was pretty obvious and there was a vibe. And it made me feel like I was doing something wrong. All I was trying to do was support the school, but I felt like I was doing something wrong. And that's obviously what these male childcare workers, they're feeling like they've done something wrong, even when their intentions are good. But as a parent, you can understand that if it's men doing these sexual assaults against kids, you can understand why they don't want men to be part of that. But this issue gets more complicated because today, 2 childcare workers in Western Sydney were charged with allegedly assaulting a 17-month-old boy in their care. They were both women. The 42-year-old woman was charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm and common assault, and the 32-year-old woman was charged with common assault. So that tells you right there, it can be on both sides. And I've seen lots of TikTok videos where they're decrying, this never happens with women. Well, assault happens with women. How far do we take it? These same women that are making these videos would absolutely not cop it if women were being excluded from something. So why is it okay to exclude men? Now, I've said all that, but I will say, I think I might actually be supportive of it. You just can't take the risk. There are obviously things that need to change in childcare. There are obviously mechanisms that need to be put in place. Whether it's more security cameras, more reporting, I don't know. But something needs to change because these are our kids and they're in care. And it cannot continue. Whether it's assault, whether it's sexual assault, this cannot continue. So do we remove all men? Maybe we do. And I think that would surprise a lot of our regular viewers to hear me say that. And that's why I want your feedback on this. Is it too outrageous? Or is it a way of being safe? Okay, now to the scandal gripping New South Wales Parliament involving a former leader accused of sending X-rated messages while sitting in the chamber. Leaked WhatsApp messages show Mark Latham texting his ex-partner, Nathalie Matthews, yes, Nathalie, not Natalie, during parliamentary sessions, and these aren't just casual chats. The Daily Telegraph has what he wrote, allegedly, which hasn't been denied, I will point out. Let's take a look. Master's penis needs relief too. Very hard thinking about you. Some suggestive emojis there. A picture from Nat. Mark Latham says, haven't come in days. It needs my touch to F and suck. Lots of penis tension. Need badly to taste you. Naughty. Made it back for the first vote after dinner. Then Nat says, you are quite amazing. My dopamine, serotonin and oxytocin. Latham says, I needed that. That's babe. You're amazing. And you get the idea. There are lots of other examples of the sexually charged relationship, but things take a turn, a dramatic turn, in fact, when Latham appears to end the relationship. Now, this story came to light after Matthews filed court documents accusing Latham of shocking physical and sexual abuse, alleging Mr. Latham engaged in a sustained pattern of emotional, physical, sexual, psychological and financial abuse during their 2-year relationship. The abuse, she alleged, included Mr. Latham defecating on me before sex and refusing to let me wash, forcing degrading sexual acts, pressuring me to engage in sexual acts with others, and demanding I call him master. Ms. Matthews also details claims of physical violence, including Mr. Latham pushing me against walls, forcing me out the door, throwing a plate at me during an argument, and driving at me with his vehicle, hitting me with the side of his mirror, and causing a bruise. These are explosive claims for sure. And this morning, Latham went on 2SM's Chris Smith's show and defended himself.
Just about all the things she's complaining about, she initiated in consensual arrangements. In relation to fiancé, you can't marry someone who's already married. And despite telling me on numerous times, untruthfully, that she was divorced from Ross Matthews, I think she's still married with him today, certainly up to our last encounter on the 27th of May. As for messages in Parliament, Chris, you said on your show, in terms of holding the Minns government to account, my output as an MP matches up against anyone in the upper house. And I mean to say, if you're sitting there listening to Penny Sharp droning on, and then a woman who looks like Natalie Matthews sends you a message, which one would you pay attention to, Chris?
Yes. I actually don't think that's cool. One, why is he degrading another member of Parliament? But this idea that, look, we know that politicians in the chamber, they're texting journalists and all that kind of stuff, so you could argue that he's well within his right. But I don't know, it is a weird thing when you're sexting in the chamber, isn't it? It just doesn't seem right. And what are you doing with all that sexual energy? Now, obviously, there is a serious question about the abuse allegations, and to his credit, Chris Smith did raise those with Mark.
I guess what voters need to know is, do you abuse women?
No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. Absolutely not. That's just preposterous. And
has she got something to fear? Have you been hassling her in any way since the 27th of May?
Well, ask the New South Wales Police, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, the bar now for getting an AVO is very, very low. You know, a whole bunch of groups complain, they just hand these things out like confetti. The police obviously wanting to protect themselves if there's a future incident. You go ask the New South Wales Police that took no action, and nor should they have taken any action. I ended it on the 27th of May, said it was all over in the circumstances of that horrendous night. I couldn't take it anymore and wanted no further contact with her. And other than a small part share ownership in a trotter and returning some of her possessions to her apartment in the city when she wasn't there, I've had no contact with her. So that answers your question. The whole idea is preposterous. Why she's doing this, she'll answer for that at some stage, but there's certainly a steady leak of material that's into the newspapers, isn't there? A list of 5 or 6 pieces of material there. And some of the stuff we've got now, can I just point out, has got nothing to do with the AVO application, nothing to do with the court case. This now goes to some personal or political campaign to try and damage me. Well, the big news is I had a private life. I had a sex life that I've got to say was fantastic.
Okay. A couple of things there. Obviously, we can't talk to the abuse allegations, and he will have his day in court to defend those. So let's not talk about that. There's a few things going on here. And look, I'm just looking at the article again, and sources said, this is from the Daily Telegraph, sources said the allegations related to sexual acts performed by Ms. Matthews within the walls of Parliament House during the pair's relationship. See, that takes it beyond just some sexting. They're actually performing sexual activity in the workplace. This goes on. Mr. Latham repeatedly sent graphic sexually charged WhatsApp messages to Ms. Matthews while he was in the parliamentary chamber. Okay, so their breakup seems to be around a big drunken night. Something has, and when you read through the text message exchange that the Daily Telegraph has, it does seem like there was some kind of event. But what concerns me most is that we often see during court cases and when people have gone to the police, the leaking of messages like this. And they're usually in a way to paint someone in the worst possible light. In this case, he is saying there's thousands of text messages between them that will offer an insight and how everything worked and why he said things in relation to a previous text. So it is interesting. And if leaks come from the police, I think that's a problem. You look at that Brittany Higgins case. The leaking of the messages, she gave over her phone and they took everything. And then we started reading in the papers about her going for jobs and all this other stuff. And that's not cool. There was stuff in there we did not need to know and that was not relevant and not in the public interest. But she had to live with all that. You've also seen it in the Justin Baldoni case with Blake Lively. Certain texts were put out, a narrative, and he has disputed those and put out transcripts of further exchanges that do change the narrative. And I think that's important. Now, all that aside, Mark Latham, congratulations. It sounds like you had a great sex life with this woman. You don't need to brag about it like that on public radio, on the radio. It just seems gross and rude. And despite your output and how much you've held the men's government to account, this is not the place. You know, you can say people have had sex at work, and of course they had. But you are a member of Parliament. You represent the people. You're not there to get your jollies off while you're working, mate. Get on with the job or get out. Bloody ridiculous. Yeah, leave your feedback on what you think about that Mark Latham story. I do not like the way he's talking about it on radio. He seems almost proud of all those sexual acts he was doing with her. But anyway, Now to a story I've been talking about for years. Anyone who knows me knows that I believe Stevie Wonder is not fully blind. Yes, I believe he has eyesight issues, not disputing that, and is legally blind. But I do think he has some vision. Well, it seems the man himself has heard these rumours, and he addressed this issue at his Love, Light and Song concert in Cardiff.
You know, there have been rumors about me seeing and all that. But seriously, you know the truth. The truth is, shortly after my birth, I became blind. Now, that was a blessing because it's allowed me to see the world in the vision of truth, of sight. See people in the spirit of them, not how they look, not what color they are, but what color is their spirit.
See, that's not a denial to me. Yes, he was blind as a baby, legally blind. Does that mean he can't see anything? Oh, it's lovely to talk about the spirit. And by the way, he's an amazing singer. I love him. But I just think there's a bit of BS when it comes to the completely blind because there's just so much evidence to suggest otherwise. Take a look at this footage. Watch this concert footage. Paul McCartney knocks over this microphone like that. Oh, Stevie just picks it up. I'm going to show you this a couple of times. There's McCartney, knocks it over, and Stevie's hand goes out. He sees it. He's picking it up. One more time for those who don't believe it. The head knocks it. And I know the other guy comes in, but look at Stevie. Hands up. He's caught it before the other guy's seen what's going on. If that wasn't enough for you, if that's not enough proof, Shaquille O'Neal, yes, the one and only Shaquille O'Neal, well, he believes Stevie can see. Have a listen to this story.
I'll tell you Stevie Wonder story, but you're not going to believe me.
Come on, man.
No, I wouldn't.
I know the story. He's got to tell it.
I wouldn't
He's got to
believe it.
tell it, Ernie. I know the story. He's told me he's got to tell a story.
All right, go
He's got
for
to
it.
tell a story.
It's a true story.
It's
a true story. So,
according to Shaq.
we lived in a building on Wilshire. So you park your car and the valet's down there. So I'm already in the building. I'm coming through the lobby. Door opens. It's Stevie Wonder. He comes in, says, "What's up, Shaq?" Presses the button. Hold on, it's your story. Presses the button, gets off on the floor, buys stuff, goes to his room. I went and called every person I knew and told the story. They believe me. No, bro, he got on the elevator. He said, "What's up, Shaq? How you doing, big dog?" You know what I'm saying? And yes, he did. Yep, Wilshire Boulevard.
Still not convinced? Even Lionel Richie thinks Stevie Wonder can see. Here he is on the Kelly Clarkson Show.
I went to his house. He says, "Want to hear a new song? I've got it in the car. Come on, go with me." We go out to the car. He says, "You sit on the passenger side. I'll sit on the driver's side." He goes in. He cranks the car up. He puts the tape in, right? And then he does this. And starts driving back down the driveway.
No, sir.
And I screamed, said, "Stevie, what are you doing?" And he said, "Got you, didn't I?" But
Gotcha indeed. Got the whole world. Now, I was with my friend Reggie Sorensen from Big Brother. You know her. She won Big Brother. She was on I'm Celebrity Get Me Out of Here. She won Big Brother twice, actually. And Reggie has, she's legally blind. And people always say, you can see, you're a liar. No, she is legally blind. And I know with Reggie that she really struggles. It's like she sees like this. It's like a pinhole. And, especially in crowds, it's very difficult for her. But she can text on her phone. And I remember Rachel Leah from The Voice, the blind lady who auditioned. She was on Studio 10 one day. And at some point during the show, she was over at the side. And I saw her texting. I went, "She's blind. How can that be?" Now, this is before I understood that there are different levels of blindness. Because we all have this idea that if you're blind, you cannot see a thing. It's not the case. There are different levels, and you can be legally blind. And that's what I assume Rachel Leah was. And Reggie certainly is. And I said to Reggie, "You're not offended with what I think about Stevie Wonder, eh? And she goes, no, Rob, not at all. So we love Reggie for that. So I firmly believe that Reggie can see. And when he did that with Lionel Richie, looking behind, he did move the car. And he may have said, got you, but he did. And there are so many examples. Go searching on the net of Stevie Wonder can see. And there are so many people who have stories to tell. I will let you in on a secret. The way I came across this and why I've been part of this conspiracy theory for many years now is because someone in the media industry said that they will, and I wish I could remember who this person was, but the story stuck with me. And if you're watching this, get in contact. Let me know who it was. And this person told me that they were backstage in Stevie's hotel. He'd done a concert or something. He was backstage. And let's just say, I don't know how to put this, and I have to be careful for defamation reasons, but let's just say there was maybe something on the table, right? And let's just say Stevie wanted some of that. And let's just say no one helped Stevie go and get it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And apparently the person who told me this turned and looked to Stevie's manager and he went, shh. So, makes you think.
It's the random life shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random life shot of the day.
Yes, it's time for the nightly random live shot of the day. Some people's favourite segment. They say, get rid of all the Rob talking. Let's see a random live shot of the day. And today we're heading to one of the most iconic beaches in the world, Copacabana in Rio de Janeiro. Famous for its sweeping bay, white sands, and the distinctive black and white tiled promenade, Copacabana is buzzing with both tourists and locals. Today in Rio, it's been a mostly sunny day with temperatures reaching 24 degrees after a low of 16. I feel like at the Copacabana. Wish I knew the words. All right, let's get some of the feedback because there's a lot of it coming in. Anthony G says, my first time on YouTube. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the YouTube experience. And you're crazy on that serious story about the childcare. So much for male role models for today's children. Look, that's absolutely right, and that's a fair comment. Over the page we go, and Justine says the reality is it's not just men. We recently saw disgusting behaviour from females in a centre. What we need is support for a speak up and speak out culture. We need stronger laws and regulations in regards to numbers of children. Very, very good point. And this is why I was earlier sitting on the fence, and I've seen your feedback coming through. And I have to say that I'm veering towards no, we can't just do that blatant on men. It's not fair. It's not what we do in this country. And so you've helped me. Thank you. You guys have been helping me. I think we've got some more of that feedback, but you guys have been helping me come to that conclusion because Nicole says you might as well exclude male football sporting coaches if you're going to exclude male early childhood educators. Well said, Nicole. We've got this one from Travis, another case of a few people doing the wrong thing and everyone gets tarred with the same brush. And as I pointed out, Travis, we had those ladies at the childcare centre today, as Justine, I think, alluded to. Over the page we go. Daz says, equality is a two-tier system. If women were being discriminated against, there would be an uproar in the media. But when it's directed against men, most people just accept it. Very, very good point. And I was almost willing to accept it. Jeanette says, in fact, when I worked at FACS, Family and Community Services, it was the mother who harmed children over the fathers. The mother got education. Fathers weren't allowed to have the kids, as in look after them. Travis again, do we really care about Mark Latham? His best work was as the empty chair on Studio 10. Travis, I forgot about that. That's right. We had booked Mark Latham to come on to Studio 10 and he was right outside the Channel 10 studios doing something. It might have been when he joined up with Pauline Hanson. I'm really trying to remember. But he pulled out. And so what did I do? I went, no, we're not going to try and gloss over it. And we put an empty chair there and said, that's where he's meant to be sitting. We didn't play games at Studio 10. Matthew says, my old town of Copacabana, New South Wales, is better. Good work, Matthew. All right, don't forget to keep your feedback coming through. And now it's time for Rob's rant. And boy, am I angry about this. So recently, the lolly company Allen's decided to make a change to the orange snakes. A change no one, I don't think anyone was asking for. But apparently, despite the fact orange snakes have always been my favourite, 7 News reports it was the most controversial colour. So they've changed it from apricot to passion fruit. Now, I didn't know that they were apricot, and anyone who knows me knows I'm allergic to all vegetables, fruit and vegetables. Actually, that's the other thing I learned. You don't try to open the packs like this. You do this. Oh, Jesus. Amanda, I've made a mess. Can you show them the wide shot what I've done? It's all going swimmingly. Anyway, I love the orange snakes, and so much so that my daughter was once at a party and she got all the orange ones from all the different bowls, and her mum, Leah, knew her so well. And first she was about to have a go at Ellie. And she said, oh, hang on, are they for your dad? And Eloise went, and she went, oh, all right, because they knew I loved the orange snakes so much. I can't even bear the smell of these. I never asked for passion fruit. Now, according to Allen's research, it shows that 50%, hang on, let me just pull this up. It shows that 50% of people consider the orange snake the least preferred flavour. Well, it never used to, well, maybe it was, but I only bought it for the orange snakes. I would have bought bags of orange snakes. Allen's here really upset me, so much so that I'm having to go from these preservative ones to these natural confectionery ones. And I have to say, I was going to eat one on air and I can't do it. I have to say that I don't actually mind the orange ones out of here. But you know what? I'm thinking of the old Allens. I really am. I miss the orange snakes. Is it just me? Well, it was one of the most heartbreaking and senseless crimes in recent Australian history. The murder of much-loved schoolteacher Stephanie Scott just days before her wedding sent shockwaves around the country. In April 2015... Well, guess what? Amanda hit the wrong button. Sorry. We are meant to be going to Amanda Howard, but we have had some technical problems. So, Amanda, why don't you run that countdown and I'll clean up here, but... Because I'm going to be honest, we did pre-record the interview with Amanda Howard. And I just blamed Amanda, but I think it was my fault. So if you go to right at the end of the sequence, you'll see the countdown as the second last clip, Amanda. And that'll give us 90 seconds to try and work out what the hell I've done. Right. Let's see if we can fix this. We sorted it. Oh my God. Was that, I can't tell which ones are which. I think I just got one of the, I don't know if it's the natural one or the, I've messed all this up. But we found the right clip. Was it just the orange ones they changed? I will say I prefer the Allen's Red Snake over the Natural Confectionery Company. Oh, that'll be fascinating. We'll do the rest of the show just talking about snakes. Look, we are going to change pace now because, as I said, I did speak to Amanda Howard earlier, and she said something to me today when I raised the point with her about Bradley Murdoch having died. And she said something very interesting, that he was innocent. So I pre-recorded this interview with her a little earlier with a nice little intro. It would have been seamless, but that's live streaming, isn't it? Here we go. Okay, more of your feedback in just a moment. Well, the man at the centre of one of Australia's most infamous outback murder cases has died. Bradley John Murdoch, the man convicted of killing British backpacker Peter Falconio, passed away in a palliative care unit in Alice Springs at the age of 67. Murdoch was serving a life sentence for the 2001 murder of Falconio and the attempted abduction of Falconio's girlfriend, Joanne Lees. But even in death, he kept a dark secret. He never revealed where Falconio's body was buried. In a statement, Murdoch's family said, "To many, Bradley Murdoch is known only for the events that led to his conviction in 2005 for the murder of British backpacker Peter Falconio, a crime for which he has always denied responsibility from his arrest until his death. But to those who truly knew him, he was much more than the headlines. When given the opportunity, Brad was a devoted father, father-in-law, and proud poppy who never missed a chance to brag about his grandchildren. He was a beloved brother, uncle, and friend." Police have doubled the reward to $500,000 for information that could lead to finding Falconio's remains. Despite being convicted, Murdoch maintained his innocence until the very end. And my next guest, criminal behavioural expert, true crime author, and my podcast partner, Amanda Howard, believes the wrong man may have been jailed. Amanda, that's a very big call. Thanks for joining us. Why don't you believe Bradley Murdoch killed Peter Falconio?
I just think that there's so much that is left open in this case. I mean, we can even start with that we haven't found Peter Falconio's body, which can actually mean that you can't prove that he's dead, which means he can't have been killed. So
but people have been convicted even without a body many times.
But there's often a lot of evidence to go with that. So, you know, we have things like Lee's described the truck and said that it had a trailer and Murdoch's truck didn't have a trailer. There was talk about the shoes he was wearing, and they can't prove either way if they were the correct shoes. They could link the footprints at the site to shoes worn by the guy in the CCTV camera, but they can never prove that Bradley Murdoch had those shoes.
So are you telling me Murdoch has never actually been identified as being part of the scene? The testimony and conviction was all based on Joanne Lees's testimony?
Of an article that she saw on a BBC website many years later. And so then when she was asked to identify him, she goes, "Oh, yeah, it's that guy who I saw was arrested for raping 2 women in Adelaide." And so she sort of saw him as a criminal and said, "Yep, that's him," even though he looked nothing like the identified photo that she had actually provided to police in the Northern Territory at the time.
You're very offhanded when you're saying, yeah, that's him. It sounds like you're suggesting she was just looking for someone to blame, or do you think she was somehow involved?
Well, I mean, when she talks about the truck, for an example, she was put into the front seat with the dog, and then somehow she ended up in the back of the truck. She doesn't know how that happened, and there was no through way to do that. And then she slipped out the back easily and ran off into the bush. However, there was no way, if the tarpaulin was on the truck, that she could have been able to do that. So there's gaps in her story that doesn't match what she claimed to have happened.
Okay. A lot of people would take issue with you pouring doubt on Bradley Murdoch's guilty verdict here. Just today, the Herald Sun in Melbourne posted this story taking issue with his claim of innocence, saying His insistence defied the facts, such as his DNA on the T-shirt of Falconio's partner, Joanne Lees, and his keeping of Lees's hair tie, which he threaded around a shoulder holster like a trophy. Okay, there's some facts presented by this journalist. Your reaction?
Well, where is the gun that he used? Where is the shell casings that come from it? Where is the blood that links him to it? You know, there's all of these bits and pieces.
Okay, but what about this claim of the DNA evidence on the T-shirt?
This is the same DNA that they couldn't identify the first 3 times that they tried.
Okay, and what about the keeping?
We've seen in other cases where they've decided 20 years later that yes, that those hair samples did match a case after they had said no, it hadn't matched for 20 years. You know, it's convenient to then sort of make A equals C when it doesn't.
Look, I trust what you say. As you know, you were convinced Kathleen Folbig was innocent. It took her 20 years and that was proven right. You're on, how shall we say, this guy doesn't seem like he deserves a lot of sympathy, Bradley Murdoch. So you are going against the grain. But tell me, the other line in here is that he was keeping Lee's hair tie, which he threaded around a shoulder holster like a trophy.
And where is that? And how have they proved that? How would a hair still be found? Like, they didn't arrest this guy for many years. And the only reason that they looked at him is because she saw something on a BBC website that had actually come from a guy in WA saying, yeah, I think I know that guy because I ran drugs with him from here to here, which if they were doing that to get where Falconio was 300 kilometres out of his drug run that he was apparently on. You know,
but are you saying there was no hair tie?
I would strangely suggest that if he had a hair tie of hers for several years later until they found it, how would that hair still be on it? It makes no sense.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do killers often do deathbed confessions, or do they like taking their secrets to the grave?
No, deathbed confessions are what we hear in TV and films. It's this drama that this person's about to die and they're going to their hand's going to drop off the side of the bed after they've said yes, I killed him. It doesn't happen, and the times that it actually has happened, sometimes those people have lived. So you don't do.
But I guess the idea is that let's assume he was guilty for the moment. I know that you're pouring cold water on that, but let's assume it. What is the psychology of killers and serial killers? Do they want people to know? Is there power in them taking that secret to the grave and stopping families from having closure? Because the family just want the body to be found.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that, it would be great to think that Peter Falconio is alive somewhere and that he actually comes back. But
very doubtful.
Everything does suggest that he's not dead. What I'm suggesting is maybe the wrong person went to jail. But I think they people who kill and don't reveal those secrets often will never. So it's not a power thing. It's just that they are done. And it is a bargaining chip that they don't want to play with. There are some, Ted Bundy was going to tell them about an extra 50 victims at one point, and that was a stalling tactic. But most of them, if they're not going to tell, they're not going to tell. But then we see people like BTK. He didn't tell anyone until they said, look, the case is cold, we're going to close it. And that's when he decided that he had to talk. And then when he got caught, he talked, as we know on our podcast. We did a whole series on his confession. So some of them, once they start talking, it does start to pour out. But holding evidence like this, I think it's more to do with that they don't have the answers. So, but we don't know. Someone may in 20 years' time have a deathbed confession, say that they were the actual killer of Peter Falconio.
Well, it's fascinating and it's interesting you're going against the grain. Amanda Howard is my podcast partner on the Monsters Who Murder with the Serial Killer podcast. Amanda, thank you for joining us. You end up joining us a lot because there's a lot of true crime going on. So thank you for taking the time.
I'm always happy to jump on, Robin, and have a chat about crime.
Good on you. Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.
See ya.
Well, aren't Aren't you guys just loving it that Rob McKnight didn't get it right? So, a bit of background. We were very close to the wire tonight, getting our streaming service up. There was a slight technical problem and we were all working hard. And that clip of Amanda, I forgot to explain to my Amanda where it was. So, yes. I was wrong. You could all get stuff. Let's go to the feedback coming through. I love you all. You know this. Nicole says, no, those natural ones are horrible. I couldn't agree more with you. Anthony says, I must have an old packet here. Oh, I'll buy them from you. Send them to the McKnight Tonight Studios. I agree with you. I've never been that much of a fan. The orange ones are okay, Nicole, but I really am devastated. But good on you for still having an old one. Jimmy says, changing from apricot to passion fruit snake. Boo to that. I have not yet met anyone who has ever done a confectionery study. So true. It's you know what it is? It's someone at Allen's and one of their mates or they didn't like the apricot ones and went, oh, they're horrible. Let us orange ones. We're passionate about our orange. Katrina says, love Rob's rant, but got to say the green snakes are the best. They don't beat the original orange ones. Travis says, least preferred colour is green for me. All right, so I'm going to do the test. These are the Allens. These are the natural confectionery. Here's the Allens one with... Do they still have all those preservatives in them? Not as many, Amanda says. Yeah, all right. I'd go Allen's on that. But you can't beat those original oranges. I need to cleanse the palate with an orange. Even if it is the natural confectionery company. All right. And your crazy says, here's where the true talent takes over. And welcome to Amanda McKnight tonight. So true, so true. She's the saviour who gets this to air. Restoration Archive says, trouser snakes? Oh, you cheeky bugger. Not a good night with the Mark Latham says. Travis says, leave Amanda alone. You couldn't do the show without her. Lol. Travis, I'm very aware. Believe me, I am very aware that we could not do this show without Amanda and Jasmine. She makes it so much easier. Hang on. Amanda analysis is brilliant. No body, no weapon. Oh, sorry. I thought that was about you, Amanda, but it was about the other. You can't believe when we're recording Monsters Who Murder, how confused we get because they'll both say, which Amanda are you talking to, Rob? Anyway, enough of that. We are back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Hopefully it'll be a bit smoother. Thanks for your company. You have been watching McKnight Tonight. Thank you for all your feedback and all your love. We will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock as we stream across the globe. For now, though, it's good night from McKnight.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. It's good night from McKnight tonight.